Hey guys, welcome back to the Hands-On channel. Today we're taking a look at my 96 Chevrolet Suburban K2500. The deal with this truck is, since I bought the thing, the air conditioner hasn't worked. I tried charging it up and it didn't help anything. But basically I'm fixing to change out the air conditioner compressor and the accumulator, also known as the canister. It's usually mounted on the back firewall. I'm fixing to change those two things out, but before I do, I want to show you why I'm changing them out, and I want you to hear the compressor so you can hear what a bad compressor sounds like sometimes. You can hear kind of a rattly sound. So I've got the truck running right now. I'm going to walk around to the front of the hood, but first I'm going to reach in here and flip on the AC. I'm just flipping the switch here, if I can reach it. There we go. So we're getting ready to change this unit out. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and drive this down. I actually know a guy, a air conditioner guy. He's the guy I'm actually going to have charge this system up whenever I'm done. So I'm going to drive this truck down right now and have this thing evacuated, have all the Freon that's in the system sucked out of it. They can recycle that stuff. So I'm going to take that down there and have that done. And when I come back, we'll turn the camera back on and I'll show you how to take this compressor off. It's not that big a deal. If you can do an alternator, you can probably do an air conditioner compressor. It's just knowing, you want to make sure there's no pressure in the system. All right, to get the compressor off, we're going to need to take this tension off the pulley here through the tensioner. You can take a 1/2 inch drive. I've got a breaker bar. That's a 1/2 inch drive breaker bar. It fits right in that socket, and you can release that tension and pop this off. You don't have to remove the whole belt, so you might tuck it on this or tuck it somewhere where it won't fall off all the rest of the pulleys. We're going to need to disconnect this power supply. It's probably going to take both my hands to do that. There's another little plug back here to unhook. The things we're going to be taking loose off of this are this bolt right here, which is, I believe, a 15 millimeter. Yep, 15 mil on that one, and there are 3 of these bolts, and there's the third one back there in the back, and those are 13 millimeter. So you're going to need a 15 and a 13 millimeter socket, and you'll probably need a ratchet at very least, and an extension will make it a lot easier to get you up above the work, especially on that back one back there where it's going to be more difficult to get to that. So that's what we're about to do. I'm going to release that tension off the belt right quick. Okay, correction, it's 3/8. I tried to stick that 1/2 inch in there and it wouldn't fit. I don't know why I brought that. I thought I had an adapter that would go down to 3/8, but I couldn't find it. So what I'm going to do is take this 3/8 breaker bar and I'm going to pop this belt off. I have to come off this one first, and I'll just tuck it right there. Perfect. Now slowly let the tension back off of that. Don't smash your knuckles. Okay, and I'm just going to leave that in there because we're not going to mess with it again until we have the new compressor on. So now I need to take this plug here loose. And just tuck it out of the way somewhere. Just don't forget where it goes. And there's another one back here. So we've got all the electrical connections disconnected. And next up, we're going to break this line loose here. This is the main block. There's probably a couple of flat O-rings or seals down here below this. Hopefully the new one comes with them. I haven't checked that out yet, but if not, I'll go buy some. But we're going to take our 15 mil and break this loose. The guy that I had drain it out, he said there wasn't much in it, but he said it might have a little bit whenever you break it loose, just a tiny little spurt, because he sucked it all down, but there might be a tiny bit left. And there it goes. I'm just going to let that slowly seep out. And I'm going to get a fan going in here so I'm not breathing this stuff. fact, I can smell that, so I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to air out in here, so I'm not breathing that. Alright, I'm just looking at how I'm going to get this thing out of here. My plan is I'm going to take this top loose. In fact, I'll go ahead and break this loose the rest of the way. Kind of wiggling on it to make sure there's no extra pressure in there. It's going to shoot out and get me. Okay, we're good. Take this bolt out, don't lose it. Okay, this is free and out of the way, and I may have to come up with a bungee cord or something so I can tie that up about like that, because I want it to be out of my way. Okay, that should get it. That's out of the way. But I'm just looking at how I'm going to get this thing out of here, and I'm thinking what I'm going to have to do is kind of, once I bust these bolts loose here, actually there's 4 of them, I told you wrong, I thought there was only 3, there's a 4th one back there I didn't see. Okay, and I can get these out of the way fairly easily. There's a couple little tabs you have to push in down below. Squeeze those in and those pop right out of there. And you have to kind of turn them in line with the square here also. Just have to push them in just right. Okay, now those are out of the way. This little guy here, same deal, you just push in on the little tabs. And I don't really need to remove this, I don't believe, but I want it out of my way where I can wiggle it around. So we've got our 13 mil. Lefty loosey. So far they're not on there super tight. I believe I read 38 foot-pounds, 37, 38 foot-pounds on these. It's not a whole lot. Okay. And I will go back with some never sees on these when I go back in, because I like to do that. Okay. Compressor is loose. Okay, there's one more plug I missed back here in the back I see now, that I can wiggle this thing out. Okay, you just push this little tab and it pulls right out. That is that wire. Awesome. Cool. Okay, we'll have to remember how that goes when we go back in. Okay, so now we can just lift the compressor out, keep it upright like that, keep the ports on top, and we're ready to compare this to the new one. Alright, here's the old compressor off and on the floor, and we're going to take a look at the new compressor. Comes with a new orifice tube and some O-rings and seals. That's good news. I'm going to save all those. Use this right here to kind of hold on to them. Everything that comes out in there. Alright, and we've got a couple more seals. Okay. And there's the compressor itself. Okay. Alright, got it up here on the table where we can work on it. I wasn't expecting this, but I can see I'm going to have to take a snap ring plier and take this out and install this sensor here in this opening. No big deal, but I'm glad I saw that before I stuck it in. Just looking over, making sure the belt grooves are the same. They are. Clutch looks good, brand new. Let's see here. We're not going to take this off yet, and it tells you right here, follow the oil balancing procedure enclosed instruction sheet. Contains PAG oil. So I'm going to have to drain this and figure out how much is in there. Set that aside for now. I already drained this one just to see how much the original system had in it. Didn't have very much, less than an ounce. It's about a half an ounce in there. That's what we're looking at there. So I'm going to get started on that. I'm going to go get my snap ring pliers and get this transferred over. and we should be about ready to set this in there, but I do have to drain the oil out of this one into a clean container and then, you know, measure up how much it is and figure out how much I need to put in to balance the oil in there. So I got all kinds of conflicting information on the internet. Some were saying 11 ounces for this Suburban because it has front and rear air, and others were saying that no, you don't have to do that if you're just changing the compressor out. You only need to put 2 to 4 ounces in it, and then 2 ounces in the accumulator. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not sure that that's the preferred method on this or not. A lot of people were talking about, oh, if your compressor went bad, you have to go ahead and take this down and flush it out and stuff. Well, I'm going to try not to do that. I think the compressor, it started making noise and I immediately shut it off, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and get this fitted up over here on this new one and get ready to install this thing. All right, we're ready to slide the new compressor into place. Stick that right there for now. And actually, I'm going to get that wire that we flung over here and go ahead and plug that in. Well, it's easy for me to get to it. There we go. And that just goes over the top like that. Make sure you don't pinch your wire. Okay, I'm going to grab a little anti-seize. And I'm going to grab my torque wrench. I'm going to 37 foot-pounds. Should be about, I'm going to go 38 foot-pounds. Okay, we're torqued to 38 foot-pounds. Now I can plug this guy back in here. Okay. Now I could not find torque specs on this fitting right here that goes down at the top, so I guess I'm just going to have to, it was fairly snug, it wasn't super tight, so I guess I'm just going to have to kind of tighten it up pretty good and hope for the best on that, but that sure looks good on there. Now I'm not going to be plugging this unit in, but just to make sure my plug works and fits, what I'm going to do is drive it over to my AC guy with this unplugged. That way there's no way this compressor can kick on. Now one of the things they said in the manual is that you're supposed to turn this thing over, rotate it 10 times. So I'm probably going to do that here in a second, but I saw it was kind of gurgling some stuff up out of there. So I need to disconnect this for a second. I can stay right there. These guys go back in there. Oh, never fails. Phone won't ring all day, and then when I start doing a job like this, especially when I'm recording, that's when everybody wants to call. Okay, so I'm going to pull these off. These fittings that were on here, we're going to replace them with the new ones that came with the compressor. This one had 4 ounces of fluid in it, so I'm not going to add any fluid to this thing. I drained it out into an ounce cup, and it had 4 ounces in it, so I put 4 ounces back in it. It's brand new fluid. And since I'm changing out the accumulator, I will go ahead and add, I believe it was 2 more ounces to the accumulator. So we'll see. Hopefully this all works out, because this is a Suburban. It has rear air, which means it has a lot more Freon and oil in the system. So I wasn't 100% sure what to do on that, how much oil I needed. And as I got to looking online about it and stuff, they were saying that the factory typically puts way more than necessary. So I should be good with 4 ounces in the compressor and 2 in the accumulator is what I'm hoping for. Okay, they're telling me here, torque this hose block to 25 foot-pounds. That's good news. Now I'm going to compare these to the ones I just pulled out to make sure. Looks like I've got the right ones. Let's see here. We want to get just a little bit of this oil right here on this seal, both sides. I'm going to slide that. Right there. Same thing with this one. And we are ready to drop this back in place. Just like that. Kind of hold it in line as you're tightening it up. I put a little anti-seize on that. And back our torque wrench down to 25. Sorry, it's taking me so long. I can barely read this thing because they've got it microscopically etched in there. Need glasses more and more. Okay. Get to our 15 mil. Tighten this down to 25 foot-pounds. There she is. Okay. Now we're ready to reinstall the belt, but before I do that, I'm going to turn this thing over and rotate it 10 times like they said in the manual. And you're not supposed to do it with the impact on the front here. You're not supposed to do it on the nut. You're supposed to turn the clutch 10 times. So here we go. Now we're ready to reinstall our belt. Go up and over just like that. Before you let the tension off, make sure you're on the groove. Just to recap a couple of things here that maybe I glossed over a little bit in the video, is that if you do need to add fluid to this thing, you do it through these ports up at the top here. You know, before you put this back on, you can pour fluid in this. But one thing you're going to want to be aware of is that you need to check and see how much fluid is already in this system. And I'm not sure why they do it this way, or why they don't write on there on the side how many ounces they put in there. But the instructions that came with my, I think it's a Delco, I can't remember, Delphi compressor, which is the same style that was on here before. Basically, this thing had fluid in it. So I poured it all out into an ounce measuring cup, and I determined it had 4 ounces in this thing. And they were also talking about you need to add, if you're changing out the accumulator back there on the firewall, you need to add a couple ounces to that. And I guess you just pour it in the side there. I'm not real sure about that, but that's what I'm going to do. But I was reading through a lot of different forums and stuff, trying to get the answer of how much oil does this Suburban actually take. And finally I found a site that said it takes 11 ounces empty. But I went to another forum, so I was thinking I had to put 11 ounces in this thing. I went to another forum and they were saying, no, that's if you're doing a brand new, completely empty system. So that, you know, you got to consider that all the lines that are existing in here, all these little pieces like this, have a coating of oil all over them. So you only really need to add about 6 to 8 ounces, they were saying, total. So I'm going with 4 in here, which is what the factory, or what Delphi had in this system. I poured it back in, and I'm going to go with 2 back here on the accumulator, I'm sorry. But anyways, yeah, this is going to conclude this video. Next up on the series here, I'm going to have to change out this accumulator back here in the back. I probably got to remove quite a bit of stuff to get that out, you know, mainly just the air box, air cleaner. And then we're going to charge it up, and hopefully we'll have cold air on this rig. Because it's a Suburban, it has rear air, and that kind of complicates things. I'm not used to this system, so I'm hoping that right now I don't have any air, and I'm hoping that when I get this all fixed, the rear air will automatically start working also. So although I don't have any rear heat right now, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but I've got some other little gremlins to work out on this thing, but we're going to get her there, and I want to get all the original systems back to 100% on this truck, because I use it a lot for long distance traveling. So anyways, guys, until next time, appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, but I'll tell you straight up, I'm not an expert. I'm just a do-it-yourselfer that refuses to pay a shop $1,000 to do a job that's only going to take me a couple hours to do. You know, all in all, by the time I take the grill off and everything, I might have 3 hours in it, but still, I'm not going to pay them $1,000. And, you know, I went and got this thing on Rock Auto. They had the exact same kind that I needed, and I believe it was like it was about 140, 150 bucks or something like that, plus the accumulator. So I believe it was just about $200 by the time I bought everything I needed to do this job. But yeah, if you're going to do a compressor, you need to do the accumulator and also change out that orifice. This guy right here, the orifice tube. So that's supposed to be back behind the grill. I don't know, we'll see. So you got to change that, because that's got a little screen on it that gets clogged up with grit and stuff, especially if you've had an AC compressor go bad. This is where a lot of the crap is going to get caught up, you know, in the system. So you want to change this out. But until next time, guys, appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you later.